We're talking all about car and truck wrecks here on Law Call tonight. If you do have a question, maybe you've been in an accident recently, give us a call. Those phone lines are open and that number is on the bottom of your screen, 392-1544. I want to dive deeper into Brett's question because I noticed he said that the driver was cited for inattentive driving or, reckless driving, right? And equipment failure. It sounds like with the equipment failure, if he was driving for a company, let's say, not naming any specific ones, but if he's driving for a company, could they be at fault too? Could you get more money if that is the case or no?
Well, typically, Courtney, because he's working for that company is automatically on the hook as well. Okay. Now, there are instances where you can go out and rent a box van of some sort, and you may think it's a commercial carrier because it's a really big box van. But you can actually rent those to individuals without a CDL requirement. And so if that's the case and they get involved in an accident, sometimes there's very limited insurance that you can go after, and you can't go against the rental company on those situations. So if this was a commercial carrier with a I don't want to name a name either, but a trucking company or a commercial carrier out there, when they have their driver behind the seat of that wheel and that driver gets involved in an accident, that carrier is responsible for that accident at that point. Now, it helps your case a lot more if you start diving into it, Courtney, and you find out these issues about being inattentive and then all of a sudden they have an equipment failure, and then you start digging into the service records. Now we have what's called e-logs or electronic logs, and basically you dive into that to make sure that the driver didn't use up all of his hours, that he was actually allowed to be driving during that time period. But Courtney, going to the basis of the question here, it's deeper than that also, because he's worried about his car, but what about all the other things that Brett should be worried about? Yeah. What happens if he has significant injuries that require surgery one day, or maybe he's unable to go back to doing the same things that he did at his job prior to this accident, and it's totally changed his life. So, Brett, in addition to your car, you also need to be worried about yourself and your personal injury as well. And you got a great set of facts here so far. It looks like, from the truck driver's being cited for some traffic violations, that actually helps your case even more.
I think you brought this up, Brian, and forgive me if you didn't, but you talked about reconstructing an accident and having someone come on scene and do that, correct? When you've been in a bad accident?
So I don't want to say it's common, but when there is a rear end collision, a lot of times that's not involved. Okay. But when you have, if you've ever seen a Florida crash report where there's 4 or 5 vehicles involved and they're spinning all sorts of ways, accident reconstructionists get involved. I know when someone is killed during a car wreck, the Florida Highway Patrol or whatever entity has jurisdiction does a traffic homicide report, and they sometimes have accident reconstruction elements there where the state of Florida or a city is actually doing it. But it is often, when it is very contested liability, it really depends on if there's witnesses and things like that. But if it's a he said, she said type of thing, or we've had instances where both people are killed in the car wreck, and so it takes someone else to kind of put all the pieces together to explain to a jury or an insurance company what exactly happened.
How does that help you guys? Do you use that as direct evidence in each case, or how do you take that? Does sometimes you take that and maybe don't use it to help you guys or your clients?
So it really depends. I like the experts we hire. If they tell us, hey, it looks like your person is actually responsible, they will be upfront with us. Unfortunately, that is part of the job, is we get news and we have to tell our clients or families, hey, it looks like y'all may have been responsible, but at least we're going through all the steps and investigating. But I would say most of the time you can kind of look at a case and figure out, hey, this is what we think happened, but we need an expert to verify certain things, especially if someone is speeding like excessively, or if there's comparative fault where both parties are partially responsible, and we need to have an expert put every piece of the puzzle together.